Hi there, this is Michelle Richardson, founder and director of Mindful Soul Center for Wellbeing. And here with me is one of our wonderful staff members, Heather McPaul. Heather is a trauma therapist here at Mindful Soul. She specializes in working with women and also with military veterans. And Heather is also has a specialty in the creative and expressive arts. So today we wanted to just hop on and talk with you guys a little bit about Altered Books. So if you happen to be listening and you have any questions, feel free to land a comment and we'll be happy to answer any of those questions. So Heather, why don't you tell us a little bit about what an altered book is?
So an altered book is just a regular book that you change with various mixed media. So fabric, paint, ink, whatever. And you're basically changing it to tell a different story. Sometimes you could be using the words that are already on the page. Sometimes we're going to take the whole thing off, like we're just going to paint right over it or something. It's whatever your vision is for whatever story you want to tell. And it's a really therapeutic tool for processing our past, specifically things that need healing, that need to shed some light, need some insight, need to grow from.
Yeah, and last week I had done a live about why a lot of times in therapy we have to go to the past in order to heal it so that things feel better in the present. And I feel like these books are exactly that. It's like going through these old chapters, almost like you're putting on a different set of glasses as you're looking at the past. You're unpacking some of that baggage in a different way, and you're learning from it, you're discovering some more things about yourself, and I don't know, you tell me, is that maybe a way that you can, help work through and heal some of that as you're kind of moving into, like the next chapter of the book, the next chapter of your life?
Yeah, using altered books is kind of like, our subconscious thinks in metaphor. So art is a really good extension of that, and it's kind of like handing your subconscious a paintbrush or a crayon and saying, tell me what you know, tell me what you felt. And so it is a way to look back, but also gain insight we never had before. In fact, a lot of people look at what they've done and they go, oh, I never noticed that before. What does that mean? And so it's a really insightful tool to really get in underneath what we actually know, to dig up things that maybe we weren't aware of. And that is really where the healing lies, is that, oh, there's this whole other level to this, that I can achieve self-compassion and I can achieve healing and I can do all of these things by knowing some of this hidden stuff.
And that's so cool, because it's really taking you, I feel like so many people have heard, cognitive therapy, right? So they come looking for cognitive therapy, which really means your thoughts. And yet there's so much more to healing beyond just our thoughts, right? And so, the creative and expressive arts is just another, like you're saying, it's like kind of getting into that subconscious. It's getting into these layers that are deeper than just that heady analytical kind of stuff.
There's actually over 170,000 words in the English language.
Whoa.
And sometimes they just don't articulate what we've been through and how we feel. So art gives us a new language to use. It gives us a way to express things that maybe we don't have words for.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking, even in terms, both of us being trauma therapists, that when we're working with somebody that has trauma that happened in childhood, as a child, that child didn't have the words, right? Like developmentally, they didn't have that. And so the way that experience or those experiences are stored in the brain is different. And that's another reason why I think cognitive therapy doesn't quite get to it in a way where some healing's happening. But using art, and like you said, it's like you're giving, a paintbrush to the mind. Like, I just love that. Do you want to share some examples?
Sure. So an altered book can be anything from, painting over or using the words on the page, like we call it blackout poetry, when you just black out all the words but what you want to say. Or it can be as intricate as like a sculpture or something you're really building up on. But for the most part, a lot of people just use different media there we have some yarn and some ink and some paint. And while, you know, I have people all the time say, well, I'm not good at art. I can't draw, you know, and we're not looking for Bob Rosses here. Right? We're not even concerned about how it looks to anybody else, because this is an expression of what it felt like for you. And so really it doesn't matter what it looks like as long as it means something.
Right.
And so I don't know if you can see that, but that's one. We have some collage work there and some stickers. So it's really just expressing where you are in that story and what it felt like. You know, it's interesting to think about if you have a feeling and you were going to put that on paper, what would it look like?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what does anger look like? What color is that? You know, what's the texture of it? You know, if you can put that into words. And I like what you said about, you know, children not having a capacity to say some of these things. Well, a lot of adults try to say, well, it's art, that's child stuff, that's child play. You know, the insight that we get from it is very adult stuff.
I feel like it's really, you know, especially if you're doing a story that's from the past, at least, I feel like it's really, in a way, connecting with your inner child. Like you're really almost going in and connecting with that younger self.
Absolutely.
And helping with that paintbrush or the marker or the yarn or whatever. You're helping put an image together that makes sense from what that inner child's experience was.
Yeah,
you know?
I think Altered Books is a great tool to get in touch with all the parts of ourselves, not just the inner child, but, you know, all of our different mechanisms and our different defenses and things like that.
And I know that there's a lot of different stories that people have told through Altered Books. I know that, you know, I've referred clients to your group for things like going through a divorce and kind of working through the story of that marriage or grieving, right? And really working through some issues of grief and loss.
Sure.
So it's not always childhood stuff. It's also, you know, it could also be really relevant stuff that's happening here and now too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a great way for people to figure out just how much those things have impacted them and draw some conclusions and some patterns in there.
Yeah.
So it really is a great tool for gaining some insight about, you know, what's really going on.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I know we have another book too. You want to show
another
some
book.
pages from this person's book?
Let's see. One thing I love about some of these, that people get really creative.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read what it says on the outside of the door. It says, things aren't always the way they appear.
Yeah.
And then when you open it, it says, everyone has an untold story hidden behind closed doors. Try to understand that people are not always as they first seem. Wow, that's really powerful.
Yeah, and it really is a lot of powerful work. And I love that we're able to share it with each other to, you know, feel like we're not alone in some of these stories. But even if we don't have the same exact story, which we're not going to,
right,
that we can connect on even just a human level with some of these emotions and feelings.
Because when we're carrying trauma and when we're going through these difficult experiences, it can feel so lonely.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, you can feel so completely alone in an experience.
Yeah. It's awesome how art can connect us that way.
Yeah, it really is.
I love this one. This is one of my favorites.
Look at that.
You just, you know, to me, the definition of art is that if I look at it and I have a feeling, that's it.
Yeah.
You know? And when you look at some of these things, you just know, even if you don't quite understand what's happening, you come away with a feeling, you know. And so I think it speaks to us on so many levels.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about just the registration process? How do you join the Altered Books group?
Sure.
When's the next group? I know we have one starting soon, and then there'll probably be another one in the fall.
Yeah.
So speak a little bit about that.
So we have an Altered Books group starting on Monday. It's 8 weeks long. And it's an hour and a half each time. Okay. And the reason why we made it that long is because when we do creative arts or we do expressive art therapy, we engage in something that psychologists call flow. And what flow is a sense of clarity, a sense of serenity, but also a sense of timelessness. And so what happens is at the end of group, I'm like, all right, let's wrap up, everybody. And they're like, already?
Right? Like,
So we made it kind of long,
Yeah.
But it's great, and we do get into discussions while people are doing their thing. But so registration, right? So people can contact me, Heather at mindfulsoulwellbeing.com, and I can send them info. They can go to our website, mindfulsoulwellbeing.com, and look at the group page. And there's a little video, and there's all kinds of info on the website. And then I will send them a registration form. They'll fill it out, and then they just come in.
Great.
So Monday we're starting a new session, and then we'll do another in the fall. I also have a master class for people who have been through altered books before. And instead of like regular altered books, we just go through our story and we gain insight as we go. Master class is much more pinpointed on certain things. So every session is an actual task to do in the book to gain more insight and go deeper.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And if you have any questions, feel free to send us a comment. If you liked our video, please share it. And thanks for joining us today.